Today we're going to talk about a study conducted by Stanley Milgram in 1963. Now, Stanley Milgram was a professor at Yale University, and he wanted to conduct an experiment on obedience and behavior. Now, at the time, he and some of his fellow psychologists were interested in finding out how seemingly civilized people could commit such atrocious behaviors, such as the mass killings in German concentration camps. And so they set out to conduct a study to find out exactly how far people would go in obeying an authority figure. Milgram put out a series of ads advertising his study and told people that he would be conducting an experiment on learning and memory. Now, the actual design of the experiment consisted of two rooms. In one room he had a supervisor and a participant, and in the second room he had a learner. Now, the learner was actually a hired Confederate whose job it was to purposely provide incorrect responses to questions from the participant. So the participant was told to ask a question to the learner, and when the learner provided an incorrect response, the participant was asked to deliver a shock to the learner. So the experiment consisted of 30 different levels of shock. Now, of course, these weren't actual shocks, but the participant was led to believe that they were. So there were 30 levels of shock, ranging from least intense to the highest intensity shock, which was supposedly 450 volts. So again, every time the learner provided an incorrect answer, the participant was told to deliver a shock of increasing intensity. After the 300 volts level, the learner stopped responding altogether, and the supervisor simply told the participant that this failure to respond was an incorrect answer in itself, and told to continue with the shocks. So Milgram wanted to find out exactly how many people would go all the way and deliver the highest possible level of shock. Now, what the results of the experiment found was that out of 40 participants, 26 participants went all the way, meaning that they delivered the highest possible level of shock. The original prediction was a 1 to 3% obedience rate, so the 65% rate was truly shocking. Now, what happened was a lot of the participants actually showed some level of discomfort or unease when they had to deliver these shocks, but all it took was for the authority figure to instruct them to continue, and 65% of the time they would. 5 participants stopped at the 300 volt level, but like I said before, 26 of the 40 went on to the highest level. So what his study showed was that human beings in general have a tendency to be pretty obedient, especially in the presence of an authority figure. In this situation, what Milgram found was that because the participants were in a formal institution, they were at Yale University, and they were in a research lab, and the supervisor was dressed in a lab coat, they had a tendency to be more trusting and to think that they were contributing to science by participating in the experiments and continuing with the shocks. Therefore, they listened to the people in charge and continued at a level much farther than they were comfortable with.